All right, let's close it out with some golazos because we got to talk about games that delivered the goals. Let's start with OL Reign versus Racing Louisville, a 2-2 draw between these two teams.
Woo.
They split the points, and what a way to close it out. OL Reign having to come back to get this result. It was a thriller down the stretch. You love to see it.
It seriously was. I mean, we're talking about it at the end of our show right now, but this is the game that kicked off the weekend. And my expectations were set pretty high at the end of this game because as it rolled on, Racing Louisville traveling to Seattle to play at Lumen Field. I had OL Reign, as did you in this one.
Yep.
They end up splitting points with Louisville, but they come from behind, and it's another penalty kick opportunity for Racing Louisville. That's how Wang Shuang gets her second goal of the year from the penalty spot, and that's in the early in the first half. In the 24th minute is when Louisville gets on the board first, and then it was a slow end to the first half. Action and moments throughout the start of the second half, but things didn't really start to pick up until like the 75th minute in this match. A couple of rotation for both sides, and then a very confusing second goal for Racing Louisville. I'm going to say it. I
Yeah,
was flabbergasted. The
me
players
too.
were flabbergasted. The broadcasters, the coach, Kim Bjorkegren, after Louisville gets awarded the second goal and they're up
That's
2
better.
nothing in the 75th minute, Kim Bjorkegren, head coach for Louisville, is so confused. They show him standing on the sidelines, literally scratching his head, asking people what happened. Like, he's not celebrating. He just is genuinely confused about what happened. And the players on the field are celebrating. It was a very interesting situation. The way it happened was there was a collision on the
Okay, I
far
thought there was
side
a
of the
foul.
yeah, and both teams, I'm going to essentially say, thought there was a foul. Specifically, OL Reign, they were on their defensive half, and the ball falls to Paige Monahan, and she's inside the 18-yard box, and the closest defender is about 5 yards away because they thought the play was going to stop. She ends up getting a shot off. Valentolis Joyce isn't ready in goal at all. She tries to make a save on it. She touches it, but it still hits the back of the net. It was very unassuming.
I'm glad you touched on it because even though they're not walking away with the win in this one, it was it was one of those goals where I was like, oh no, like this is going to be one of those games that the Rain are just going to be pissed off for the rest of the season about. And watch out. But turns out we didn't have to wait till next week at all because they turned it all around in this game. And I'm sorry, but we all have to give our thank yous to Elise Bennett for turning the tide for the Rain in this game. We're talking a 5 minute
Mhm.
window in this match in which OL Rain got the equalizer. We see an assist by Bennett and Latsko getting into the mix, getting one back for the team. She got subbed into the game for Fishlock, who I'm sure they're happy to have back getting minutes on this match. But you could sort of see Latsko and the energy that she brought into this game off of the bench. And then just 5 minutes later, Nikki Stanton with the dime for Bennett to put things away in the 80. Oh my goodness, in the 87th minute. I just can't believe it just took 5 minutes.
I
I love
know.
this. I love this sport.
I know.
But
It was crazy.
it just uh, again bringing the preview on this as well, which is because we both went with Ola Rain, and I believe when we were talking about making this pick, part of why we did it was because of Elise Bennett. We were like, this
Yeah.
player is getting increased minutes with Laura Harvey on OL Reign. This World Cup period is here. She's going to continue to get those minutes. And what an
Massive.
absolute finish to
Massive.
this game. I think even when you see the final whistle come out of this, it's like, no, they split the points. They don't do enough to get this win. But to have this comeback and have it manifested
Yeah.
into existence, within 5 minutes, you could see what it meant to these players, at least Bennett with the reaction
Totally.
post game. Just you're on such an adrenaline high
Yeah.
at this point. And Laura Harvey just high fiving everybody in sight. It was just a through. I'm with you. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is the game that's going to set off week
Same.
14.
The bar was set. Yeah, I mean, Laura Harvey, head coach for OL Reign, going crazy. It was announced by the club that she has a 2-year contract extension through 2025 with the club, so a bit of consistency in Seattle, where she started her NWSL career there in 2013. So this happens. Of course, the double header goals that happen, I believe they were both awarded as headers. Bethany Balser getting the first one, and then, of course, Elise Bennett, the reason we picked Reign to win this game. That is now the 9th header that OL Reign has scored this year. The 9th one. Houston Dash have only scored 10 goals in 14 weeks, and OL Reign has done basically that at 9 with their head of their 23 goals that they have. Impressive to see. I think the impressive fight in OL Reign to kind of turn it around after going down 2 goals, going down first goal in the first half, right? They definitely answered and they came back, and that's good to see. Maybe missing some of your big time players that are away on international duty.
Yeah, for sure. Congrats to the Reign of the comeback draw. Racing Louisville, more footage to go over and try to close matches out. Let's close this game out, or this episode out, with the final game, Washington Spirit versus Orlando Pride. Our big blowout of the weekend, because Orlando Pride hand Washington Spirit the loss with 3 goals and a clean sheet in
Yeah.
this one. We're talking about individual performances, Lisa, about players who are stepping up during this World Cup period. That's what we're going to look at moving forward in these handful of games that we will have to watch during the World Cup. It's going to be a couple of these regular season games and then a handful of Challenge Cup games. Who are the players that are going to capitalize in these moments and step up for their teams in light of so many players missing? And for Orlando Pride, we talked about Marta not being there. We talked about Adriana not being part of this roster and how they look and how this team plays differently when those 2 players are available. Julie Doyle said, hold up. It's my time to shine.
Unassuming again. I mean, to put us on blast, I had this one as a draw and you had this one as the Spirit. So I know Orlando has been a bit of this team that can cause some chaos, right? They can go on runs, they can disrupt other teams and other opposition, but you're exactly right. Julie Doyle just said, all right, I'm in this from the start. I think the first goal coming in the opening 10 minutes of this match for Orlando was tremendous. It's poor clearance by Washington. They can't get the ball out of their danger area in the box, and Julie Doyle finds it falling to herself. She gets her hips around it. It's a wonderful volley by Julie Doyle, something that we have not seen her do yet in the NWSL. So it's inside of her. We just have to shake it out a little bit and get her back in these scoring ways, because she answered a lot of the questions that Orlando had probably coming into this one. She gets the opening goal in the 8th minute, and then she gets a second one in the 16th minute, frankly capitalizing for the Pride on like miss clearances and troubled defense on the Washington side of things, especially in the first 2 goals, and then the third one being dubbed as an own goal. So doing the same thing, but that final goal for Orlando coming off the foot of Allie Watt. She's a player that I want to see step up in the next couple of weeks for Orlando.
Yeah, I thought, watching her impact in this game, you could see it off the ball a bit. I would argue that for, Messiah Bright as well. You have these very dynamic, attacking-minded players who can cause problems for a team with all of their different movements off of the ball. And I think that's a bit of what we saw here in this game for the Pride going up against the Spirit. I mean, it's tough because it's like this third goal ultimately gets credited as an own goal against Tara McCann, who is a player that we've had a lot of praise for over this season, converted into a center back, has been really putting together a strong season for the Spirit at this new role. And that's what we were looking for. We know that in a game like this that there were going to be multiple key starters missing for the Spirit, because they were not going to have Kingsbury or Rodman or Sullivan or Sanchez. So who was going to step
The
up?
list goes on.
And it goes on and on. And we were also, we were like, there are pieces here though. There are enough pieces here for the Spirit to maybe put something together at home, right? To go ahead and get a result, but it just did not turn out that way. I mean, Hatch, I think there were a lot of eyes on this player, in light of her omission on the 23-player roster for the United States. Is this player going to deliver during this stretch of games? It was good to hear from her in post game comments, seeing reported out there that it's something that she's trying to embrace,
Right.
that she knows that she needs to be a leader on this team, and that she's going to be a focal point on this game and moving forward in the games for the Spirit. But just tough one, just didn't have answers, it looked like, at a certain point in the game.
Yeah, frankly, they didn't have a lot of answers. And when you look at kind of the stats, run them down, Orlando just capitalizing, right? 12 shots, 4 of them on target, and they had 4 total big chances to Washington's 1. So
Yeah.
it struggled, definitely. And I think that Anna Morehouse in goal for Orlando has solidified herself in between the sticks and done a really nice job. And that's going to be a huge consistent factor moving forward. You look at across the league and the players and the teams that are missing for the World Cup. And it's very interesting because Chicago, only 2 are gone, and Shayna Matthews, Alyssa Nair, they pick up a win. Kansas City only has 2 as well in Dabinia and Desiree Scott. Orlando, Adriana and Marta, all those teams picked up points, and they were only missing 2 of their internationals. Now, across the board, the 6 total missing from these 3 teams are very, very big, important parts and pieces. Yeah. But there's enough else there, enough else glue and stick to the fabric that can keep these teams together and really allow them to step up and capitalize over these next couple of weeks.
No, I'm with you. I know it's something that we're going to keep an eye on moving forward. I think this was that first glimpse, right? I think there was a little bit of that energy across this weekend as well, even though we got that really incredible finish with OL Reign in racing, and we were like, wow, it's going to be all wild all weekend. That wasn't necessarily the case in week 14, but I think a big part of that is what you just alluded to. There was some of that energy where there were a lot of players playing together for the first time for extended minutes. So maybe things might look a little bit different in week 15.